Dia de los Muertos has pre-Columbian roots and has been observed in various Central American countries for centuries. November 1st is a day to honor children and infants, and the reason Mexicans call it Dia de los Inocentes, or Day of Innocence. From a centennial celebration in Mexico to a centennial crop, Cuba is well known for its cigars, rum, and coffee. But back in Spanish colonial times, one of the most popular drinks was hot chocolate. Cuba still produces its own cocoa and chocolate, in particular around the town of Baracoa, which is located on the extreme eastern tip of the island. However, the industry is struggling to survive. One of the world's leading chocolate-producing nations, Belgium, is lending a helping hand. Here's Michael Voss with the report.
Jose Urbano is a third-generation cocoa farmer, and his methods and tools have changed little since his father's time.
It hasn't changed. You have to do everything by hand. There are no machines for this, so everything stays the same.
But earning a living this way is getting harder. Productivity is steadily declining. The majority of trees are old, producing less fruit and in need of replacing, while the average age of farmers is increasing. Jose Urbano is 75 years old and is concerned about how few young people want to stay on the land.
Already us old boys are disappearing, so we need young people who want to care for the cocoa. But the situation with cocoa is not good. It's hard work. If the cocoa paid better, if there was more development, then they would come because young people go where they can get results. The same as me, but unfortunately, or perhaps luckily, I will die here with my boots on. What can I do?
Now many wonder how much longer cocoa can provide an economic lifeline to what is one of the remotest and most isolated corners of Cuba. Most of the cocoa produced in the world these days comes from Africa. But just like tobacco and potatoes, it originated in the Americas. And they've been growing cocoa here in Baracoa for centuries. For a brief period, Baracoa was the first capital of Cuba, though today it's better known as the capital of cocoa. In the town center, there's a chocolate cafe which serves only chocolate ice cream. While a few doors down the street is the House of Cocoa, where the town's museum director and official historian, Alejandro Hartman, invited me for a drink.
Cocoa is the life and the spirit of the Baracoans. Cocoa is present in the daily lives of farmers, workers, all of us, because for more than 400 years, it has been bound to the economy. And it's not just bound to the economy, but also to our traditions.
Baracoa is also home to the island's oldest and largest chocolate factory. It was inaugurated back in 1963 by the Argentine revolutionary Ernesto Che Guevara. The machinery was supplied by what was then East Germany, and most of it remains in use today. Almost all the chocolate produced here is for domestic consumption. But Baracoa's traditional blend of old-fashioned cocoa beans is starting to attract international attention. Nico Regu Marcolini is co-founder of one of Belgium's most exclusive chocolatiers. The Pierre Marcolini shop in Brussels displays its chocolates in what look like jewelry cases with prices to match. Nico Marcolini now travels the world in search of unique cocoa flavors. She's developing a range of chocolate bars which, just like fine wine, have a denomination of origin, made from beans from just one region or farm. Baracoa is one of them.
It's something exceptional. The cocoa, a variety of Trinitario, which has evolved over centuries, and in such an isolated place, it is something very natural. This cocoa powder is a mix of different varieties and is very, very aromatic.
Belgian trade union, which represents food industry workers, is funding a project in Cuba to help improve conditions and productivity on cocoa farms.
So this is where the track ends, and it's by mule now.
Yves van Giesel is a Belgian agronomist who spent the past 2 years in Cuba getting the project off the ground. Improving the mule runs is one of his priorities.
They pick the beans, and these beans need to get to the drying center quickly. If not, they will ferment, which damages and reduces the quality of the cocoa. But unfortunately, the farmers don't have the means to make or repair saddlebags for the horses, so we are helping to construct saddles and to improve the blacksmiths, which exists but is in poor condition.
Yves van Giesel is also working with farmers to plant new stock. Some of the cooperatives are starting to clear the land, making space for new cocoa trees. These ancient, highly aromatic plants, which could serve an important niche market in Europe, produce smaller pods and fewer beans than the mainstream varieties. Yet the state pays the same price per ton, no matter the quality of the beans. So there's little incentive for cooperative president Sabino Matos to stick to the old-fashioned mix.
In the case of the traditional cocoa, which has the best aroma, the cocoa pods are much smaller, yet they pay the same for these small beans as they do for the large ones. One always tries to find and plant the cocoa which gives the best results, the best profits. We're looking to make money.
Cuban farmers can't compete with the industrialized African cocoa plantations in terms of price, but they could be selling their unique quality beans for a premium abroad. Without these new markets, farmers like Jose Urbano may be the last to grow cocoa on this land.
Our thanks to Michael Voss for that report. The price paid by the government to farmers has no relation to the amount of work needed to take care of the crop. For that reason, many of them are mixing cocoa plants with banana plants. But scientists consider it a disaster for the cocoa because it has to compete with a banana for nutrients, light, and water. The government promised to increase prices so we can reverse the situation and stimulate cocoa production. That brings us to the end of our broadcast this week. We'd love to hear from you about this story and all our stories. Please write to us at an@cctv-america.com. Or you could send us a tweet. Our handle is @CCTV-AmericasNow. Please join us again next week for another edition of America's Now. See you then.